Welcome back to Softcore History. I'm your host for the week, Dan Regester, joined as always by Rob Fox.
How's it going?
Happy Father's Day to me as a dog dad. As we record this. Drops a day later, but I just want to congratulate myself on being a father.
Right.
Anything new with you?
No.
Okay.
Same old.
Good. I have to rely on you today heavily.
Okay.
I need your Les Mis.
Oh, perfect.
Because today we're talking about the French Revolution.
Okay, well, that happened during a different time, but
I don't care.
Les Mis did.
I don't even know what Les Mis is.
Les Mis took place during a smaller revolution in the 1840s in France.
Cool. I am not going to defend myself for that.
Yeah, nor should
I don't
you.
want to know what Les Mis is in detail.
That's
I
fine.
just want to know that it exists.
Yeah.
I don't need to actually know what it's about.
My name is Valjean.
I think it still stands, though,
Prisoner
right?
24601. I could do this all day.
Good.
I'm fucking Captain America today.
That's what we
I
need
could do
then.
this all day. I love. Fun fact about Les Mis. It's Trey Parker's favorite musical.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, and so there in the South Park movie, the South Park movie is one of the best musical movies ever made, and one of the reasons is, for me as a guy who is like semi-interested in musicals, like someone who actually loves musicals would think I'm stupid, and I am, but they like do all the songs are kind of like different types of musical songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like one genre, and one of them is like a Les Mis theme song, and then one of the greatest episodes of South Park ever. This is easily in my top 5. Is the Thanksgiving Helen Keller episode.
Yeah.
And they hire like an actual like Broadway guy to do their Helen Keller play, like an actual director. And people who don't know anything about musicals, it's still funny because he's dramatic. He's still very dramatic. But the guy is just doing Les Mis the whole, like he never talks. He's just like, I know of a turkey who can do tricks. I've worked with her before. And that's the only way he talks the whole episode. Yeah. And it's like, every time I watch it, I just like piss my fucking pants. It's so fucking funny. And the reason for all of that is that Trey Parker loves Les Mis.
Yeah. And he also loves Great Expectations.
He does. Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Pip.
Yeah.
And you're very familiar with like the Les Mis references. So it balances it out with the South Park universe for us too.
It does.
But no, today we're going to talk about the French Revolution because, currently trying to cash in on that SEO.
No King
protest.
Which, look.
So we're going back to the original No King protest.
I'm fine with people protesting, even though I think any protest is annoying no matter what it is, or what side of the aisle it's on. And B, there's certainly plenty of things to complain about that I'm not going to like judge people for. But the name of it, high key, pisses me off.
It's bad branding.
No King. Well, mostly because I just see all of them. I look at all of them, and it's all like on the left side, and I'm just like, no Kings. I'm not convinced that you like democracy.
Exactly.
Like, I know you don't like Donald Trump, and totally, absolutely fair, but I am in no way convinced that what you seek to do is save a constitutional republic.
Yes, it's very ironic.
Like, at fucking all. I'm just like, just say you hate them. Like, you don't need to do, if you're trying to win over people in the middle, I'm not buying it.
No.
I'm not one fucking second am I buying it.
But we're going to kind of talk about what leads up to the French Revolution, and we're going to kind of end it where
heads are rolling.
Yeah. Once the heads are rolling, we're going to cut it there.
And what my favorite thing about
because it's so long. And there's so many like details that go into it, and there's so many. Honestly, the French Revolution deserves like a 3-parter
minimum.
So
I mean, if we were Dan Carlin, we'd do a 10-part. Each episode 3 hours long.
So we're not talking about Napoleon today.
We don't
know it's very disappointing for you.
I assume we get up to like Robespierre.
Yeah. We mentioned Robespierre, but like we're not going to do the Reign of Terror.
We're going to get up to.
We're going to get to the Reign of Terror.
I think the French Revolution is one of my favorite revolutions because, back to the No Kings thing, even is that's really how revolutions go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the American Revolution, and by the way, hype fucking city for the Ken Burns American Revolution doc coming out. That's going to be fire.
And the American Revolution plays a part in this.
Yeah. But the thing is that the American Revolution is a miracle and one of the greatest things that ever happened because of how it played out. Because normally what happens is French Revolution, Russian Revolution shit, which is a shit ton of innocent people die. And then someone gets in power and
Power struggle.
nothing really changes.
More civil wars.
And then you just get another autocrat, whether it's, and in France's case, a literal just king again.
Yeah,
emperor,
Napoleon.
but king.
Yeah.
Or in Russia's case, a king in all but name.
A lot of people reference Napoleon as like the Augustus of France.
Look, Napoleon was a great leader, but obviously, like, fuck him too. You know what I mean? Like, he just wanted power, the same way Augustus just wanted power. So fuck those guys. They ended the fuck Caesar and fuck Augustus, and Napoleon's fun. And he was only fighting other dicks. So fuck whatever. But
And as kind of, elitist, we're going to probably take the royal side
I'm
here.
already on the side of the royals. Fuck the mob.
Some of you Frenchies, maybe you just discovered this show. Because every time we do a French episode,
Salut.
they find us somehow, and they're like, oh, typical American history here. You don't know what the complex, nuance French history.
There is no nuance.
No, you guys are fucking animals. And Louis was actually not that bad.
He probably wasn't, to be honest. I don't know a ton about him. I know he was not great economically.
No, but that also wasn't really his. That's not all on him.
Right. Like, he was convinced into bankrolling America.
There's bankroll in America, and it's like if you're in French power, you have to go to war with England.
Yeah.
That's just a requirement.
They lose a world war and are in debt from that, and then decide to bankroll America to get back at England, basically, which, fair enough. But my favorite factoid of the French Revolution, I don't know if you bring it up or not, too, which is also just like mirrors modern day so comically close that it's painful, was that when Marie Antoinette was on trial and they just weren't getting anything to stick other than she was rich. They accused her of being a pedophile.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Yeah. Between 1715 and 1789, the French population grew from 21 million to 28 million, which is 20% of that lived in cities, and 600,000 were in Paris alone. The middle class tripled in size by 1789.
Which, by the way, means the country was doing well.
Yeah. Oh, there's a middle class?
Yeah.
A budding middle class? But living standards for peasant farmers and blue-collar working men dropped.
The middle class will do that. We're real ladder pullers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just get one house in the suburbs and you start spitting on everyone.
It's kind of like some immigrants these days.
What?
The illegal immigrants. They're zealots. They're like, fuck these illegal immigrants.
I mean, if you had to take
Do it the right way.
a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire up the ass for like 10 years to like
Just to get your citizenship?
yeah, in terms of bureaucracy and all that shit. And then like someone else comes in and they're like, amnesty, we need the farm workers. I understand. Their POV, I get it completely.
There was an incident back in the 1730s with a group of apprentices who were fed cat food by their master. Did a bit of a silent revolt to their master by meowing outside of his bedroom, keeping him and his wife up for several nights. Not realizing it was his own men, he believed the cats around his place were possessed. Rounded them up, put them on trial,
The cats?
and hung them for witchcraft, the cats.
Okay.
So that's just kind of like a sense of where we're at.
I'm a little disappointed in this man, actually, because this is a Catholic nation, and in Catholic nations, you burn witches. So the fact that he didn't burn 20 cats at the stake is a little disappointing off the bat. Maybe he couldn't spare the fuel.
Yeah. Well, an economic recession hit in 1785, thanks to both the 7 Years' War and American Revolution, plus bad harvest from several freak hailstorms in 1787 and 1788. Food prices and unemployment soared simultaneously.
Yeah, not a great combo.
No.
I think this was, it either started right after this or had just started, but there was like a mini ice age in the late 1700s, early to mid 1800s that like really fucked with harvesting and stuff like that.
It says the Little Ice Age was a period of regional cooling in the North Atlantic region, lasting roughly from 1300 to 1850.
Okay. All right. So they're already dealing with that.
An average Frenchman at the time would house 2 pounds of bread a day.
Wait. Hold on a second. It lasted until 1850?
Yeah.
Did the Industrial Revolution and coal burning save the planet from
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Remember, we did an episode on Patreon about 1848?
Yeah.
A lot of it, all those revolutions that were happening, plus the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of, global warming around that time. So yes, it saved the planet.
We saved the planet with the Industrial Revolution.
We always kind of backdoor our way
We really do.
into the solution. So an average Frenchman would house 2 pounds of bread a day. The prices of flour obviously went up, and suddenly a baguette was half your monthly wages.
That's not tenable long term.
No,
2 pounds of bread a day is
it's aggressive.
putting it away.
Just going full carb load.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if these are low class workers, you're burning
Need
it off.
fuel.
Yeah.
You're on your feet all day.
Like a steak in the morning ain't gonna help
Yeah, well,
when you're doing the
recovery,
fields.
dog.
You need a
Get
steak
that
in the evening.
protein in you. The state also experienced a debt crisis, though not nearly as bad as England at the time. The tax rates and collection were wildly inconsistent throughout different regions of France. King Louis XVI called for the gathering of representatives of the Third Estates in 1789. The three estates being nobility, clergy, and commoners.
Yeah. This is where the term left and right comes from.
But there's 3 options.
I know, but there's still just the left and right comes from this assembly. I forget what it's called. Was it the Assemblée Nationale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Louis was actually willing to consider improving control of public finances to the commoners, but would often back down when the 2 other estates told him not to bitch out to the demands of radical reformers. So, you had a bunch of rich elites, you had the fucking church being like, yo, fuck those dudes.
Yeah. What? We got them.
Who cares?
We'll tell them a story, and they'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah. They'll bow down to God.
It is funny that he would even, I guess maybe it's a money situation at this point, but in the Middle Ages and prior to that, the nobles would be important because they're kind of funding your wars and fueling, they have armies, right? You collect all, it's like Game of Thrones style, right?
You call the banners.
Right. But now by this point, the army's kind of nationalized. There's no, oh, we need Lord Savignon's, 20 regiments.
Mm-hmm. The biggest issue between these 3, well, mainly the commoners with nobility and the clergy, is they were the only ones paying taxes on land and wages.
Right. Which is fucked since the nobility owns a fuck ton of land.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think at this point the church owns 10% of the country.
Yeah, but does that even...
It's a big amount.
But any land they own, that doesn't even belong to France nominally.
It's the Vatican.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Third Estate would eventually break away and get together at a tennis court of all places outside Versailles and form their own National Assembly in June.
Them fucking up those fucking dirt monkeys destroying a grass tennis court like that makes me want to vomit.
And that's how we got the French Open with clay.
Yeah. They turned it into clay because they are clay.
Meanwhile, the educated French elite were all about the Age of Enlightenment, whatever, dude. The American Revolution inspired French patriotism, and propaganda against the king, often untrue, helped light the fires of revolution.
Yeah. They like to say mean things about the king. Wasn't one that he was controlled by his wife, or
Marie Antoinette,
controlled by Marie Antoinette's brother, who was a big dick in Austria or something like that.
They made up a lot of stuff. One was that
He was a cuck.
he was infertile at first.
Oh yeah.
Because they had 4 kids eventually, but it took a while.
Yeah.
And he had this weird obsession with being a locksmith.
Yes, loved locks. Actually, their inability to bang is quite amusingly portrayed in the movie Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
You know who plays?
And they were making a bunch of locksmith jokes about not being able to crack
Unlock. Yeah, it's
his
perfect.
wife.
But that's accurate though. That's not even propaganda. That's just dinging him for what he does. Do you know who plays Louis XVI in Marie
No.
Antoinette? It's perfect casting.
I don't watch any of these movies.
Okay, Jason Schwartzman.
Okay.
It's good casting. I like that movie. It was fine.
There's also a falsified story about Marie Antoinette stealing a diamond necklace from the crown jeweler. This ruined her reputation in the public's eye, and she was never able to recover from it. She was obviously all about lavish parties. She liked to spend.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best public image.
She was a
when
teenager.
people are struggling. I know.
She got that. I don't remember when she became queen, but it was young. I mean, as young as Louis almost. And it actually doesn't help, too, that I feel like the two kings before Louis were kind of like badasses. 14th and 15th, didn't fuck around. And then Louis like a little bit feckless, softer, obviously. Wants to play with.
He was too courteous to the commoners. He was trying to bend the knee, and he was just trying to play both sides too much.
Louis the 14th and 15th would fucking never.
No.
You're just those are guys you just don't cross. And then their soft little boy became king.
Poor guy. They would also hand out pamphlets with erotica about the strange sex lives of French nobility.
That's just awesome.
And they would pass it around like duck confit to make the court seem like total deviants.
Right. So essentially, I love episodes like this because it's the French Revolution, because it's a very shit don't change episode, right? So the Clintons are in the woods sacrificing a baby and then having an orgy with like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Same
kind of thing.
Same fucking shit. It's just so it's so funny that it's like, what do we say about them to make people not like them? Oh, they put stuff in other people's holes weird.
Well, that was the whole thing with Lafayette and why he came to America. Was a bunch of like the French royalty actually didn't trust him because he wouldn't cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
So he came over to America, helped us with the revolution. Lafayette's the man.
I can't imagine.
And we're going to talk about Lafayette later.
Hell yeah. He probably found solace in like Washington and Adams, who definitely
just like stand-up dudes.
Didn't cheat on their wives, but he was also really close with Jefferson. Who must have just felt like he was back in France at that point.
Right.
At Monticello.
Yeah.
Just like, Jesus Christ, man.
On July 11th, Louis dismissed the finance minister Jacques Necker, who was starting to cozy up with the Third Estate, and put the royal court on a budget. He's like, dude, we got to pump the brakes on the spending.
This is getting outrageous. Yeah.
He was like their version of J-Pow.
We've got to raise rates. This is getting outrageous.
We cannot change the rates.
I can't drop him. He's the only person I trust in government right now. I'm just like, please, God, let J-Pow stay in.
This was seen as the king's direct opposition to reform and was the catalyst to J14.
The storming of Versailles?
Not Versailles.
Oh, Bastille.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
J14.
Yeah.
They got their own J.
We should.
Obviously, July 14th was when a revolutionary mob of about 900 attempted to storm and seize control of the medieval armory, fortress, and political prison known as the Bastille.
If we still had any interest in selling merch, a J14 shirt would be great.
I survived J14.
Yeah, but we don't.
Yeah, dude, it's just so hard to make profit on any merch when we're our size.
Yeah, it's just a bitch.
Yeah. After 4 hours of fighting and 94 deaths, the mob was able to break into the Bastille after tearing down parts by hand.
Look at them go.
They ripped it apart with their hands.
By the way, killing a tenth of the crowd and they're still going is...
I don't think all 94 deaths were on their side.
Oh, okay.
Certainly not. They killed the surrendering governor and his garrison.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The governor's head was then put on a pike and paraded around the city.
Not great.
They do a lot of not great things.
Yeah. That's really just the story.
Mob mentality is not the best.
It's never good. Ever. It never... Like, if you see a mob, get out of it. What are you doing in there?
Yeah.
That's the worst part. The people I hate the most, anyone who
mostly peaceful.
Yeah, like anyone who was in a mob, whether it was some fucking 2020 thing or J6 or something like that, and like their excuse is just like, well, I was just there and I wanted to see what was going to happen.
You get swept away.
Get the fuck out of there. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Dude, I was just watching. I wanted to see, what? And then you're mad you got tear. You're among other people that were doing shit.
Yeah, but nobody has their phones out. You're just living in the moment.
You are living in the moment. Might be your last moment.
Mm-hmm. Louis appointed our boy Lafayette commander of the National Guard and Jean Sylvain Bailly as head of the new administrative structure known as the Commune. There was a brief moment, a few days, of civil peace, but that quickly deteriorated on July 22nd when the National Assembly mob got their hands on former finance minister Joseph Fallon. If I don't know how to say the last name, I just kind of put like a French stink to it.
I've told you before, the key is on any French name is you just, especially if there's no E on the end, you just don't pronounce the last half of it. Fallon. That's it.
They made this man walk the streets like he was Jesus Christ, barefoot with a sack of hay on his back instead of a cross,
Oh.
while forcing him to drink peppered vinegar.
Oof. Such a spicy wing sauce.
Yep. So it would make him sweat, and in order to remove the sweat beads from his face, they used a stinging needle plant.
Like, oh, buddy, are you sweaty?
Before attempting to lynch him to a light post 3 different times. Each time, the rope broke. And ultimately, they just beheaded him.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, oh, they let him go? Or he got away?
No. They then paraded his head on a pike and stuffed his mouth with shit.
People aren't very creative in a mob. And also, by the way, this isn't a clean guillotine beheading. This is a dirty ISIS beheading.
Yeah. Sure was. Just like, get the butcher.
Yeah, like
We need a meat cleaver.
This is that you're chopping, sawing. It's not the guillotine's your best. If you know you're going to be beheaded, ask for guillotine.
Better sharpen that bitch, too.
Yeah, that was actually a problem with so people who knew they were fucked, they wanted to be first,
Yeah, because you don't want a dull blade.
and that was the problem. The blade would dull as it cut off more heads.
And boy, howdy, that reign of terror, it was just a line.
Yeah, truly. It was like Disney World on the 4th of July.
It's the worst ride ever.
Yeah. Yeah, you
want the fast pass.
You do
though.
want a fast pass at the guillotine. If you don't have a choice, get the fast pass.
They then confronted his son-in-law, who was intendant of Paris, with the head before lynching him too. Like, here's your father-in-law's head full of shit.
I hope they did it creatively. Like he was in his study, like writing a document, like filling out the spreadsheet for the day, and like his father-in-law's head just like peeks up on a pike. You know what I mean? And he's just like, Papa?
What the fuck?
And then like they like move the pike so it looks like he's talking, and shit just starts falling out of his mouth. He's like, oh! I mean, have fun. If you're gonna be a mob, have fun.
This led to a total break in containment of law and order, known as the Great Fear, and led to a bunch of aristocrats fleeing the country and getting out of Dodge. Also, a lot of like farmers started to like form their own militia in rural areas, fearing that people were just going to come for their fucking farms.
Yeah, that's smart. See, this is why. Look, again, totally right to protest your government, totally right to get angry at your government, but at the same time, I do appreciate things like the 1862 draft riot in New York, where they were just like, send in the troops, like,
Yeah,
they're just killing people. The like Marines in LA is too soon, probably not necessary. But like it does. There is a point where it's just like, especially like 20. Like,
HW did it during the LA riots.
Yeah,
after Rodney King.
Those were crazier than anything we've seen.
Yes.
Anything we've seen. I'd say 21st century riots don't even compare. Like when we talk about these type of riots, like a bad Black Lives Matter riot, it's like, oh my God, 2 people were killed, and it was like one of them is always like someone who is just like, oh sweet, I can murder this other guy under the cover of, like, it's not even riot related,
And they always end up somehow being a pedophile.
yeah, but like it was
It's like it's totally cool, dude.
It was
a
after
pedophile.
In St. Louis when the Mike Brown stuff happened, like 2016. There was a couple, like 1 or 2 deaths. It wasn't a lot, and one of them was literally just like some guy just like murdered a rival because it was like the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, dude, get your gang rival.
Right.
When you can.
It was just like too crazy, and it was never going to get solved. Whereas like this type of shit, I mean, they're just stacking bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the 1862 draft riot. Like they were just killing black people on the street for being like, I don't want to fight for you. Blah, 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 blah.
In late September 1789, the Flanders Regiment arrived at Versailles to reinforce the royal bodyguard and were welcomed with a formal banquet, as it was common practice.
It's a good look for Louis
Oh, yeah.
because he needs to be like, hey guys,
Takes care of his boys.
yeah, it's a great They already want to kill you.
They're insane.
Who cares what they think at that point? Just make sure the soldiers like you.
The radical press described it as a gluttonous orgy, while the assembly viewed their arrival as an attempt to intimidate them. On October,
God forbid the king have security.
I know. On October 5th, 7,000 protesters with the National Assembly marched on Versailles. They were followed by 15,000 members of the National Guard, who kind of seemed to be turning towards the commoners' cause, and Lafayette was more or less a prisoner to his own army.
I mean, look, the soldiers are normal people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have your musket, and then there's like your fucking sister with a pitchfork on the other side of the. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Granted, a lot of people always default to the army would never, fire upon its own citizens.
Yeah,
That's never the case. They always do.
no, not
They always follow orders.
remotely. I mean, look at later in the French Revolution when
We're getting to it.
Napoleon with a grape shot.
Oh, there's that, but we'll get to Lafayette, too.
Okay, yeah. But no, I mean that's the most famous one. Give them a whiff of grape shot. It was just people. It wasn't another army. It was
Right.
rioters.
Lafayette was able to relocate Louis and his family back to Paris after protesters ransacked the palace and killed a few guards. Back in Paris, Louis and the fam were essentially under house arrest
Yeah,
for like a year.
by the commoners,
Kinda. So,
or like it was just like he couldn't leave for his own safety.
both.
Okay,
Like, he was still in power, technically, but he wasn't calling the shots.
doesn't sound like it.
The army patrolled the streets to keep law and order, and there was a weird transitional period of like a committee consisting of wildly different views, with people like Jean Sifri Maury, who opposed the revolution altogether. You had radicals like Robespierre,
Mm-hmm.
who was on this board and was just like, yo, fuck them, fuck everything, fuck the system. Thought of himself as like almost a god.
Yeah,
There's a point where Robespierre, and we're not going to get to this in this episode, but we'll just kind of mention it. He gets rid of the Catholic Church and puts himself as like the head of his
State-
religion.
Yeah, never a good sign.
No. Thankfully, he meets the proper ending.
Oh, no one deserved their end more than Robespierre. Absolutely no one. The only reason he's not one of history's bigger villains is because he gets taken out in time.
He gets exactly what he deserves.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have moderates like Lafayette, all governing the country in this incredibly tense group. I don't know how they get anything done. They don't really do anything at that point.
No, it's like a fucking.
It's very ineffective.
Have you ever watched? There's like clips of like, kind of like far left political meetings. It probably happens at far right stuff now too, but in a different way. But at like far left political meetings or councils or whatever, they'll start. I mean, like the first 20 minutes are like land acknowledgements and shit like that, and then it's like, and then like I saw this one clip where this chick was like, "Excuse me, there's a lot of extraneous chatter here," and as like an ADHD autistic person, and they probably had like 20 other identifiers. Like, I just needed to stop, okay? And I'm not white, and I feel like it's disrespectful. Like it's just that level of craziness that the French Revolution invented. Really?
Yeah, you can thank the French for this shit.
Yeah.
This was all until June 1791, when Louis's brother convinced him that he had 10,000 troops at his disposal in northeast France, ready to take back power. Just got to make it there.
Just got to get a swing. Yeah.
So the royal family left the palace in disguise on the night of June 20th, 1791. Late the next day, Louis is recognized, arrested, and taken back to Paris. The assembly now demanded oaths of loyalty to the regime and began preparing for war. Radicals led by Jacques-Pierre Brissot prepared a petition demanding his deposition, and on July 17th, an immense crowd gathered in the Champ de Mars to sign it. Led by Lafayette, the National Guard was ordered to preserve public order and responded to a barrage of stones by firing into the crowd, killing dozens of people. So they had their own Boston Massacre.
You
kind
can
of.
kill someone with justified police shooting. But
I think this is a justified police shooting.
if people start throwing rocks at you, it's fairly justified, especially in that day and age. I guess it's one thing if you're like, if it's like a modern riot police that's basically like a Roman Tessuto. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have the shields and they can just kind of sturdy up.
Yeah.
But like if you're just a guy in a wool coat wearing a hat and people are throwing big ass rocks at you, like at some point,
You're in danger.
yeah, you are literally in danger. Yeah, especially if you're outnumbered, which I'm sure they were.
The massacre badly damaged Lafayette's reputation. The authorities responded by closing radical clubs and newspapers, while their leaders went into exile or hiding. So this, in France, kind of ruins Lafayette's whole thing. Like, he was a very well-respected soldier.
He was like the hero.
Yeah.
Especially because at that point they were a bit probably down bad for heroes since they lost their last major war. So that generation, they didn't. Maybe they did not. I just don't know. But it doesn't feel like they had a lot of heroes or any heroes from like the 7 Years' War / the French and Indian War. So their only successful, military officer, or their biggest, most famous successful military officer of the last 40 years at this point is Lafayette.
Mm-hmm. On August 27th, Emperor Leopold II and King Frederick William II of Prussia issued the Declaration of Pillnitz, declaring their support for Louis and hinting at an invasion of France on his behalf.
Oh, yeah. No one else in Europe was hyped on this at all. In fact,
all of Europe was anti this.
Oh, they fucking hated it. Like, I would love to actually do an episode on what they thought of the American Revolution. But at the end of the day, that's still on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Whereas,
there's still an ocean you have to cross.
Right. And it's like, oh, well, they were colonists.
France is like dead center.
Dead center. And the strongest, one of the, if not the strongest, most central monarchy of Europe.
For a long time.
Yeah. In fact, all these other European nations, including England and stuff like that, they have like different royal family lines that take over time. The French line was the longest line, stretched way back into it goes back to before even like St. Louis. St. Louis is one of the Louis.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back a long time. It was completely unbroken. And yeah, they were probably just like, dude, fuck this.
In reality, the meeting between Leopold and Frederick was primarily to discuss dividing up Poland, but the threat rallied popular support behind the regime.
Poor Poland, just catching strays.
Yeah. Also, what's not talked about, the Polish Revolution? We might have to do an episode on that.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
I think it kind of makes the French Revolution look like child's play.
Dude, anything in Eastern Europe, Russia, Poland, the Balkans, I know that's in Europe, but it's a different Europe. Like, Western, Northern Europe is different than Eastern Europe.
Based on a motion proposed by Robespierre, existing deputies were barred from elections held in September for the French Legislative Assembly. Although Robespierre was one of those excluded, his support in the clubs gave him a political power base not available to Lafayette and Bailly, who resigned respectively as head of the National Guard and Paris Commune. The new laws were gathered together in the 1791 Constitution and submitted to Louis, who pledged to defend it from enemies at home and abroad. So he's just like, sign it. No, sign it.
Yeah.
You better sign it.
Do you think, what's the, just be egregious moving quoting here, do you feel like you're in control? It's just Bane touching that guy's neck.
Or Robespierre had his own auto pen.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep. Louis the 16th. That's not Roman numerals. You get the point.
Yeah, it's fine. Who's going to ask any questions?
In December 1791, Louis made a speech in the Assembly giving foreign powers a month to disband or face war. An act greeted with enthusiasm by supporters, but suspicion from opponents. So, I don't think he really means it.
His heart's not in it.
It's essentially like, hey, I know you guys are probably going to save my ass, but please leave.
Yeah. He's just the wife when the police come. It's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's just, we were just yelling. It's fine.
Louis is the woman in the domestic abuse case.
It's fine. I swear to God, you can leave. Please leave. It's going to get so much worse if you don't leave. Like, ma'am, we can take you somewhere right now.
We're going to help you.
I'm good.
We're here to help you.
You have any children here? Get the children. No, it's fine. It's fine.
He won't do it again.
Who's at the door?
On April 20th, 1792, France declared war against the King of Bohemia and Hungary. The initial battles were a disaster for the French army, partially disorganized by mutinies, emigration of officers, and political change.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to vote on every time they were like, hey, we're going to flank. Like, it's a battle. No, we got to vote. They're shooting at us. Yeah, well, we're going to vote on whether we shoot back or not. Like, we're going to start with a land acknowledgement. This is...
Prussia then joined Austria in an active alliance against France, eventually declaring war on France on June 13th.
17 what?
1792. The blame for these opening setbacks was put upon the king and his ministers.
Of course it was.
Always blame them.
Yeah. It's their fault we lost.
The morning of August 10th, the combined force of the Paris National Guard and different regional forces attacked the Tuileries Palace.
Yeah. I think this happened in the Russian Revolution too, because the reason the Soviet Union is as large as it is because once they got solidified, they started invading other countries, and the reason they did better than the French is because the French were fighting proper countries, and the Russians were fighting like busted ass Eastern European countries essentially, and it didn't go. I mean, they won, I guess, but like it was a bloodbath, obviously, classic Russian war. And they just won because they had the numbers. But, like, this happens every time there's a revolution like this. War breaks out, and you can guess who dies. And it's not the people who are like, oh, I love the people.
Many of the Swiss guards protecting it were murked. Louis and his family took refuge with the assembly, and they eventually just removed him, suspending the monarchy.
Bound to happen. You can't do it all in one fell swoop. You got to, like, normalize it. Create the permission structure, move down the road, and then you can finally be
I was confused by this because this seemed like such a slow build and slow roll. It's like, dude, just get rid of him. Like, he's just been a political prisoner for like a year and a half.
If you do it too fast, not enough people will be on your side.
If you do it that swiftly, though, it's just like, it's over. Like, it's on.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were trying to build to. Is what I'm saying.
They didn't know what they were trying to build to.
They should have just got rid of him immediately.
They did no. That's the thing with the French Revolution. No one has any idea what they're doing. No one has any idea. They're angry, and they get the angry part right. They nail it. They nail the angry. They have no plans afterwards, which is why someone as competent as Napoleon is able to come in and, like, the first competent human being in, like, 10 years.
As long as somebody had a plan, yeah.
Yeah, shows up and figures it out. Plus, everybody likes a winner.
The Princess de Lamballe, a close friend of Marie Antoinette, was brought before a revolutionary tribunal on September 3rd, 1792. When pressed to swear loyalty to the revolution, she flatly refused, and the assembly washed their hands of her by throwing her into the streets where a mob literally ripped her to pieces.
Perfect. This is, of course, by the way, like one of the things of the French Revolution was like more equality for women, like treat women better.
Mm-hmm. But since she was riding for a friend,
yeah,
it's like, nah, they just pulled her
ripped
limb by limb
to pieces.
Yeah.
I assume sexually violated as well, if I had to guess.
I don't know if they had time. Just fucking
Jesus Christ. Which, by the way, one of the things that we talked about this in a previous episode, I think it was just like horrible executions or something like that. One of the things that started to sour people on the French monarchy, and I think this was under Louis XV, was there was like a revolutionary assassin, and he was pulled apart like in front of an audience. Like that was his official execution. I think he was drawn and quartered, basically. And it was like so horrifying that people were like, the monarchy is bad. But then they just do that.
They just did it.
Yeah.
It's okay if you do it.
It's okay, yeah. Again, no kings? Or no kings unless it's a king you like.
They then carried her head on a pike to the queen's prison cell, where they tried to force the queen to kiss the severed head of her dear friend.
Oh, they're a fun group. Again, I guess if you're going to go full psycho, lean into it. And they did.
January 17th, 1793, Louis was convicted of high treason by unanimous vote.
For what?
Who knows?
Yeah, right. Existing?
Yeah. The people that voted or that would have voted against it just, they didn't vote at all.
Yeah.
They abstained.
Present.
They're like, we abstain.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the record saying I voted in his favor.
For the best to not say anything. At that point, You just kind of got to look out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And he was sentenced to death by guillotine by the man Sanson, who formerly worked as an executioner under his rule.
He's just working a job.
Yeah,
It's just a job, man.
it is.
Yeah. I only know one thing. Like, I mean, the guy who chopped off Charles, what's his name's head in England in the English Civil War, he was probably an executioner under Charles.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a job.
It's like nothing personal.
Yeah. I'm just working.
Just clocking in.
Yeah.
4 days later, on January 21st, the former king's hands were bound by his own handkerchief. The executioner's men then cut his hair and opened his shirt collar. They then started playing the drums. He had like some drum rolls as he walked up the steps.
Yeah, classic.
Mm-hmm. Louis signaled to the drummers to stop and proclaimed his innocence to the crowd and expressed his concern for the future of France. He would have continued, but the drums continued to just drown out anything he was saying. You couldn't hear anything he was saying.
Right. Guys, this is going to go bad. Yeah. It's going to go bad. It's going to go bad. I just want to let you know.
At 10:22 a.m., the device was activated and the blade swiftly decapitated him. One of Sanson's assistants grabbed the severed head out of the basket onto which it fell and exhibited it to a cheering crowd. Spectators shouted, "Long live the nation, long live the republic, long live liberty," and gun salutes were fired while the crowd danced.
Yeah, fast forward to like 8 years later, they have an emperor.
People dipped their handkerchiefs in his blood and sold locks of his hair as souvenirs.
I'd like to get one of those.
Yeah, if we can get our hands on that.
Yeah, that'd
on
be...
set. We can get Louis XVI, just a piece of him.
Yeah, I need it.
Next, they decided what to do with his son, Louis Charles, who was only 8 years at the time. They handed the kid over to a poor cobbler named Antoine Simon.
Okay. Better than what they could have done. I really...
Just wait.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I mean, I put nothing past these people.
At the trial of Marie Antoinette, the boy was made to testify that the queen had sexually assaulted him as a child.
Yep.
Which was, just straight up false.
Completely untrue.
Yeah. So Marie Antoinette would meet the same fate at the same location as her husband 9 months later.
But let's just walk this back for a second. Let's just take a step back. This glorious revolution for the people, the good guys, for everyone, the common man, right? Against the tyranny. Manipulate and instruct a small child to get on the stand at his mother's execution trial. She'd done nothing wrong other than just be married to the king. She had no choice in it. And say, tell everyone your mom raped you.
Yes.
It's okay if it's, I guess the ends justify the means.
Do they?
No, not remotely. The people who did the French Revolution were bad fucking people.
Awful people.
You can have
some of the worst.
You can have a good complaint and still be a fucking terrible person. And they're probably grifters too. You know what I mean? Like, it's the type of thing where they see like, oh man, the common people are unhappy over some serious bullshit.
It's like, I can take advantage of this.
Yeah, how can I use this to they're all just like L. Ron Hubbards. Like, how can I get these rubes to worship me?
At least L. Ron Hubbard essentially got us to the moon.
Did he?
Yeah.
How? Elaborate.
Well, all right. So there was a rocket engineer from NASA that did a shit ton of like mushrooms and different drugs with L. Ron Hubbard in the desert. I think they fucked each other too.
Oh, I remember you talking about this.
Mm-hmm. It was a Jake episode back then, but NASA guy
bangs. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, it was Jack Parsons.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that.
So Jack Parsons went and had like a drug-fueled orgy with L. Ron Hubbard, and apparently that gave him a bunch of inspiration.
Perfect
for his rocket technology.
I feel like it didn't feel like a physics textbook probably did that, but
Maybe,
yeah.
but I don't know if he gets there if he doesn't bang L. Ron
Maybe
Hubbard.
maybe it gave him the courage. That's my general rule of thumb though. If I see something, I'm like in any political thing today, I'm like, does this remind me of the French Revolution in any way? And if the answer is yes, then I'm like,
I'm out.
nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I did this episode. I'm like, there's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah. Like, nah.
So Marie Antoinette would meet the same fate as her husband, same place 9 months later. As she approached the guillotine, she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. Her last words were, "Pardon me, monsieur."
Sorry, mister.
Yep.
Her last words were, sorry, mister.
Classic woman, always apologizing.
Yeah. Sorry. That is funny that she apologized on her way up to the guillotine. sorry, like her kid. Although I will say, by the way, so back to the kid being forced to say his mom raped him. They actually did retract that because the women in the audience, like the mothers in the audience in the courtroom, were like, "Fuck this!" Like they truly were like, "This is too fucking much." And the prosecution was like, "Oh shit, we're losing the mob." So they were like, "Okay."
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you blatantly just made that up.
Yep.
Seems like anything else you say moving forward is not serious.
Right, exactly. But they did walk it back because all the mothers were like, "What the fuck?" And yeah, they're like, okay.
Revolutionaries tossed their bodies into coffins, dumped them in unmarked graves, and covered them with quicklime at a cemetery in Paris, along with the remains of thousands of other guillotine victims during that time.
Yeah,
So they're,
buried somewhere.
who knows. All symbols of the monarchy were attacked, which meant bringing up the decaying bodies of kings, queens, and consorts. In July 1793, they just kept desecrating royal tombs, and it became like official business of the government.
Sweet.
Revolutionaries dug up the royal bodies at the Basilica of Saint Denis, where the vast majority of French royals had been buried for centuries. We're talking about people from like hundreds of years before.
You're probably talking about fucking St. Louis, like a literal saint. They don't like the church anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, royal bodies were dug up and reburied in this manner, including Henry IV, Catherine Medici, the bodies of Henry II, his wife Eleanor, and son Richard the Lionheart, all of whom were buried in France, were likewise removed and scattered during the Revolution.
Oh, so they even dug up English kings.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't realize Richard Lionheart was buried in France.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I mean, England and France are just so tightly knitted. Like,
Yeah.
And it always didn't really make sense that they were always at war because it was like the same family.
Right.
A lot of the similar, it's cousin.
I mean, the French conquered England,
Mhm.
and then England just made them English, basically.
William the Conqueror.
Yeah. And then they were like, let's go back and take the motherland.
When the cobbler who took Louis' son was forced to go away in January 1794, I don't know what that means. It just said go away.
He was disappeared.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
The boy was locked up in Paris's Temple prison and left to rot. Over the next year, the uncaring guards basically neglected the 10-year-old child to death. Underfed, lonely, and utterly miserable, the 10-year-old boy finally died of tuberculosis in summer of 1795.
Good people.
It took until 2004 for his remains to be identified and buried near his parents. So they found Louis and Marie Antoinette.
Yeah. Just like, fuck these people. These people are awful. Anyone who looks at the French, like, you look at like a picture of the French Revolution and it's like a crowd like waving flags and like, it seems aspirational until you read like one thing they did. Like, you don't even, it can literally be a cursory read. You don't even need to get in the weeds.
Mm-mm.
Like, the headlines are bad enough. I hate the French Revolution so fucking much. At some point,
Wasn't Jefferson kind of about it?
He was all about it. All about it.
That's kind of a strike against
Because
him.
Jefferson was like a lot of these revolutionaries. He was smarter, obviously, and he was a good president. But like in his spirit, like most people who call for like revolution, they just want the revolution. You know what I mean? Like
until I think he actually went to France and saw it like firsthand. I think he maybe backed away from it a bit.
Yeah, and once like Lafayette probably got on the outs.
Yeah, Lafayette I think kind of went to Austria. I think he was in prison for a bit.
Yeah, I think Lafayette probably talked some sense into him too, and was like, "Dude, you don't fucking understand what's going on here." Like, I know it sounds nice because that was like in his spirit. Jefferson was very much like, it's like someone who has a lot of great ideas for screenplays but never writes any of them. You know what I mean? That's like a revolutionary. And they're like, oh, I'm so creative. I have all these ideas, but they never sit down and like bang anything out. They just want to talk about their fucking ideas.
So yeah, Lafayette died of pneumonia in 1834. Nice. In Paris at the age of 76. He's buried with soil from Bunker Hill placed on his coffin. So
Love that.
it fulfilled his wish of being both French and American soil.
Love it.
Sweet. Dude, Lafayette's the man. We should do an episode on Lafayette.
He is the man.
Yeah, that is just kind of the French Revolution up until Louis dies and Marie Antoinette dies. Obviously, Robespierre and the Reign of Terror.
Whole other situation.
We could probably do an entire episode on that, and we will, ultimately, I imagine.
Just the best thing about the French Revolution is all it, like, yeah, they killed the king and they killed the queen. And it also resulted in the deaths of millions and millions of commoners. Like, literal, probably tens of millions. From all the wars and the wrongful executions and more wars under Napoleon, who was a direct result of the French Revolution, ironically. Yeah, it's just a huge waste of time. They didn't do anything right.
Yeah, an estimated 17,000 people died in the Reign of Terror alone.
Yeah. And then, obviously, from the Wars of Revolution through the Napoleonic Wars, it was millions. Just a completely pointless exercise that got nothing accomplished. Nothing accomplished.
Because they ended up with a king.
They end up with an emperor, and then the emperor gets deposed, and they put a king back in charge. Then there's more revolutions. They eventually get a republic, and then they get another king, and then it's another finally republics after that or something.
It's hard to please the French. They always, every 5 to 10 years, need to burn something on.
They riot every time they want a pay raise.
Yeah, they just light something up.
It is that moment forever changed the French into like just these fucking weirdos that don't know what they want, but they want to light things on fire.
They don't care, but they do care.
Yeah, I do not care.
I do not care, but I care.
But I do not. Fucking French.
Yeah, come at us, French.
Like, truly, the French, every revolution really goes the way of the French and Russian Revolution, which is why the American Revolution is actually so dope. Because it was serious people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a bunch of fucking, I mean, like, there were obviously, like, kind of head in the clouds types like Jefferson.
War of the Roses kind of has a clean ending to a degree. You have the Tudors that take over.
Or you want to go another good revolution would be like the Glorious Revolution, which is called so because no one died.
That's cool.
They just changed things.
Yeah.
That's what you want. But anyone that's like, I got to take to the streets, like, it's the French Revolution, the fucking throw those people in the river. They're horrible. And they will the only people that die in revolutions, for every king that dies, for every oligarch that dies, it's like 50,000 normal people who you're claiming to help.
Yeah. Who's today's Hitler?
All of every French commoner.
The National Assembly of Commoner?
Yeah, all of them. But specifically the prosecutor who was like, let's have the kid say his mom molested him.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's one of the more evil things I've read in history. I mean, there's obviously way more evil shit. Like, actually, although they did actually kill the child as well. Yeah, just pieces of shit from start to end.
What did you learn today?
I knew a lot of this because I took a class in college on the French Revolution. So I'm like Kumal and Johnny, who had the greatest tweet of all time when he said he knew Trump was Hitler because he took a class on Hitler in college.
Sick. Sick, dude.
He deleted that tweet, but it's still one of the funniest things ever. Like, this isn't the time.
It's just like the laziest comparison.
Yeah.
I just dismiss you whenever you say Hitler.
Which is why we do that on this show.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about the stuffing poop in people's mouths or ripping that chick to threads.
Not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you take the Bastille. The guys surrender, and you're just like, all right, now you're dead.
Yeah. I just don't. It always mystifies me.
Also, the Bastille, there was only like 7 political prisoners in it at the time.
Yeah. More of a
And
symbol.
I think they demolished it a couple weeks later. Like, they were just like, they planned to get rid of it anyway.
Yeah. It's old.
Yeah.
It's funny they still celebrate Bastille Day. It's not a good day.
It's not a great day.
Like, 4th of July is a good day. Like, a brilliant document was signed into, I don't know, laws. Not the
Dude,
right word.
J14, it'd be like us celebrating J6.
It's just not a good day. It's not celebratory in any way whatsoever. The French Revolution sucks, dude. Like, literally, anyone who looks at that and is like, no, it was actually great. Yeah, they got a little out of hand. Like, no. Shitty from start to finish. Ended up worse than they started. Revolution. If you don't have serious people doing things, that's what's going to happen. And most revolutions don't have serious people doing things. They might have mean people, determined people, but they don't have serious people.
Right. Well, that's all I got today. Thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. Check out patreon.com/softcore history. Get 2 additional episodes every week where you can only find behind our Patreon paywall. We get an episode every Wednesday and Friday dropping there. And at this point, 3 years of evergreen content. So many episodes that you can find nowhere else.
You never get through it. When do we say 4 years? I feel like it's coming on 4.
I don't know, man.
Who knows? Who could say?
I think it's our 5-year anniversary really soon. Just
August,
in
right?
general, yeah.
Yeah.
Either July or August.
Yeah, I forget when the first episode came out. We probably recorded it.
We've been doing this for so long.
Feels like just yesterday.
I know.
I'm just waiting for Jake to walk back in that door.
Well, he will.
Yeah?
He's going to be coming crawling back.
Pathetic.
I know. We'll see you, Jake. We'll see you soon. This side or the other.
It's been a long road without
you, my friend.
I don't know the rest of the words.
You shouldn't really.
No.
It was a Wiz Khalifa song.
Sam Smith, Wiz Khalifa.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. It was all about Paul Walker.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to, speaking of pedophiles. For Rob Fox, I'm Dan Regester, and you just got soft serve.